There we go. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are here for round 13 of the ARC Formula 1 calendar. It is time for the Italian Grand Prix of Monza, particularly. Not to be confused with the Italian Grand Prix at Imola. Which, I don't think I broadcasted that. If I did, I would have called it probably the San Marino Grand Prix, because I'm weird and I can't seem to ever get out of the year 2003. Anyway, yeah, we are here for AF1. Has actually, not had technical difficulties, so the session hasn't, or like, the broadcast has started before the first qualifying laps have begun. James Sands, reserving for Cameron Dowds in the Alpine, will be the first one to start such a lap. As we take a tour of the Monza circuit, not that I don't really think there's anybody in this broadcast that doesn't know this track. Immense hard braking into the first chicane. Careful not to touch either curve or it'll disrupt your entire exit. Curva Grande is hardly even a thought process in these newer cars. Second chicane, inside curb is maybe fair game, but the outside curb, or the right side curb, is not. And the Lesmos, the first Lesmo is weird trail braking. Second Lesmo, be mindful of the exit curb, as that'll definitely catch your car and spin it around. And we head down the roller coaster straight away towards Variante Ascari. Inside curb there is friendly, the other two are not. And don't wash up onto any of them, as we've just discovered. Switching perspectives to Jackson Altman to take us through Parabolica, which is the easiest corner on the track in my opinion. But it's still possible to not quite bite in on entry, and your entire exit's botched. So the first lap of the session is not going to be this, because that was a nut lap, but oh, you're undoubted. Okay, so that's not going to be the first lap either. Who's going to run a lap? Ethan Payne. Looks like he's going to be the first to survive a lap of Monza. But it doesn't seem like he's gone all that fast. Oh wait, no, I'm thinking of a different track. No, 129.2 for the first lap of the session. I don't know why my brain thought 24s would be the lap times we're running here. And then I remembered, oh wait, no, you fool, you were in time trial earlier for this exact reason. Mickey De Jong is not going to be next to set a lap. Okay, so I'm not just a liar. That is a more representative time, I know that for a fact. 21.99 for Mickey De Jong in the Alpine. And he finds a curb on his own lap. It's very weird having to remind myself to call it an Alpine and not an Alpine. Jackson Altman dethrones Mikey at the top of the charts. And David Bradley, who I believe is making his debut this week, runs a 22.72. I think Ethan Payne might also be making his debut. It's all blur for me at this point, to be honest. He makes another attempt at it, probably for the best. He runs a 29.59 this time, so he clearly made some mistakes on his first run. Francis Ferran, last week's winner, runs a 21.72. As next, Aston Lewis is pitting. He didn't like the way his lap was looking. Preston Brennan, who won Belgium and then proceeded to not attend Zandvoort, just managed to narrowly escape an invalidated lap through Ascari. And as he heads out of the Parabolica, we'll see what his first attempt will be. Oh wow, a 20.3. Okay then. I don't think that's a hot lap for Mr. Adams. The 4 drivers are not laps, but excuse me. Currently, nobody is on an actual hot lap at the moment. I believe James Sands just got his next attempt started. Just see somebody locked up there recently. Preston Brennan retires from the session. Was that intentional? No, it was not. Not there. That's, he found the outside curb of the second Lesmo, or the first Lesmo. That's not usually the one that kills you. Usually it's the outside curb of the second one. James Sands, I don't know if my eyes were just deceiving me, if he was a little conservative through chicane number 2. But to the Lesmos, he absolutely was not conservative through them. So this lap is still on. I guess it is my mind just playing tricks. I've been losing my edge because I haven't actually raced significantly in this game in months. Bit through Ascara. Usually that right side curb is an automatic death sentence should you touch it, so you did well to get away with that. Should check, the stream is working, right? Okay, yeah, it is. As James Sands runs a 2268 on the medium compound, so it's kind of hard to tell at this point. That's what the mediums are doing. Let's see where else to look. Oh, Ethan Fonseca, no. No. Well, I think Kyler Boggs might be going for another attempt anyway. I think so, yeah, the ERS is draining. Runs of 27.6, despite not even accelerating on the final straightaway of the track. Into 1, there's a Williams up ahead. I believe, well, that kind of has to be Tristan Adams by process of elimination. I'd be remiss if I didn't remind you that these two have quite a bit of history, and, you know, that history being rewritten even as of last week's Grand Prix. Am I starting the pop by mentioning that these two got together as Zandvoort? Yes. Do I care? Not a whole lot. Ooh, it's saved by Kyler Boggs. That had DNF written all over it. Uh-oh. Catches a bit of gravel, but still ultimately keeps the car on the tarmac and not on the barrier. Despite the universe's best efforts to total his vehicle, Kyler Boggs will return to the pit lane. Speaking of vehicle, Aston Lewis has found his in the sand trap. Probably after finding that right side curb there. Fonseca retreats to the pit lane, unsatisfied with his lap time. Here, this is Darius McGill on a new username, by the way. I hadn't mentioned him, but I didn't mention him because he's not technically a new driver, just a new name, Aston Lewis. Now manually retires the car. Tires too covered in sand, I guess. I hate sand, it's coarse and it gets everywhere. I didn't notice, but in the background, Mikey DeJong ran a 20.33, so nearly 200th shy of provisional pole any little improvement, and well, Brennan can't exactly defend it right now because his car is currently in the garage. So they're on board with Jackson Altman, who has to make emergency adjustments to avoid those curbs. Trust me, it's for the best. Lesmo's taken well, heads on to the back straight. Ascari is the danger zone. I'm predicting the first DNF of the race will probably come from here. Because you can hit the right side curbs or the inside curb of the last part of Ascari, and all three will result in your car going somewhere you don't want it to be. Specifically a wall, more often than not. And out of the final turn, Jackson Altman is not satisfied, and he will also retreat to the pits. Looks fine to me. David Bradley is who we are on board with. I didn't do any. I say I didn't do my voice training or voice stretching. There's a word for it. Not that would help me. Darius McGill in AF2 Reserve just ran a 20.59, so he's, at least for the moment, on pace with the top of the AF1 class. Yeah, I think he just came off of victory in that AF2 race. 1-2-1-1-1-2 for David Bradley. Couldn't have been 9,000 slower, huh? Ethan Payne is on a lap, but he's using the same soft tires he was in the first run. Oh, this is his second run, that's why. Somehow that's not invalid. I'm surprised, to be honest. It's not like, oh, I'm surprised this guy didn't invalidate himself. No, I'm surprised Codemasters let that happen. He takes the NASCAR line through Parabolica. He runs the high lane. Does not improve on his attempt. For a second I was like, I should be spectating the guys near at the top of the leaderboard, but none of them are on a lap anyway, so. Ethan Fonseca and Kyler Boggs are. Boggs will finish his lap first. Never mind, he is invalidated through Ascari. That's exactly what I thought the Haas was going to do the way I saw him take it. Fonseca... how is that not invalid, huh? This game doesn't make any sense to me, but he still aborts regardless, so ultimately the same effect. James Sands is on another lap. Seems like he's never not been on a lap in this session. He's a little qualifying workhorse. Francis Ferrand is on an out lap. Boggs will not have a... I don't think he'll have a chance to make another run, so... assuming the timer is set correctly. Johnny Parker is going to have to leave the pits pretty quickly unless he's just not qualifying. Ethan Fonseca runs a measly 28-1, but I know this guy, I know he's going to be able to do better than that. Well, we were seeing him do better than that until he made a mistake coming out of Ascari. Down the back straight, James Sands has retired, but not before managing a 20.67. Ethan Payne retiring, I don't even know if he's on the circuit. Fonseca's machine a little more obedient through Ascari on this occasion, so... this lap is for all the marbles for the McLaren driver. And heading up to the line, Fonseca will manage a sub 20 in 1998. And that's thrown down the gauntlet for all of these outlappers to beat. I think the session might be a little desynchronized. Because I don't think there's any way Mikey really thinks he'd make it around the track in time, or David Bradley. I don't think anybody would, with 27 seconds to go. Boggs maybe could from here, 20 seconds, if he really... No, he wouldn't be able to. So, we'll know in a second, unless we've just had like a 2019 Italy or whatever. I think it was 2019. Whatever year it was where the field backed itself up so much that nobody got a final lap in Q3. At the time is saying time remaining, but I'm thinking that Kyler is in full control of his vehicle, so good old Codemasters moment for you. I'm seeing things probably a minute after everybody else is. For no discernible reason, I joined at the right time. I didn't hang in on the loading screen. I hate this game. I was on board with Kyler as he is the one who leads the train of people who are apparently able to start their lap. Not that I could tell. He's gonna actually get a bit of a tow from his teammate up ahead. Conveniently placed Jackson Altman for the assistance. And honestly didn't gain a whole lot, I don't think. He makes a scurry well. One more turn for the AlphaTauri. And being that he's one of the few that got the benefit of a slipstream through their lap, let's see what this ends up being. A 20.48. And meanwhile, I totally missed Darius McGill. The AF2 reserve beat Ethan Fonseca by 9 thousandths to take provisional pole. Could Mikey De Jong respond? Tristan Adams also ran a 19.995, so he was also very close to the mark. De Jong does not improve. And that, I'm gonna go ahead and assume is the session. There we go. I do believe these thing fixes itself in between the race, the qualifying and the race. Cover the starting grid here, since I have a formation lap for that. There's somebody outside blaring speakers. I don't know where they are, but wherever they are, it's loud enough and close enough to actually be shaking the house. Totally unrelated factoid, but we're in a loading screen anyway, so... So we have about 15 seconds for station identification. No, 15 seconds till the beginning of the formation lap. Awkward silence in the air. As we begin to look down the starting grid for the Italian Grand Prix, the AF2 reserve Darius McGill has taken pole position, followed by Ethan Fonseca, Tristan Adams, and the second row completed by his teammate Preston Brennan. Francis Ferrand and Ethan Payne have been disqualified from the formation lap. Mikey De Jong 5th, followed by Kyler Boggs, James Sands, Jackson Altman, David Bradley, Francis Ferrand, and Ethan Payne, and then Johnny Parker, who didn't run a lap, and Aston Lewis, who didn't finish a lap. I would like to point out, we run this early for the Europeans to be able to arrive, or to be able to attend, and then there are, what, 3 Europeans here? Oh, 4. I think, I don't remember. It's the person who pays the rent is going in and out of the bathroom. It's a lot of waving. I figured the AI would have taken control by now. Excuse me. Just not able to mute the mic in time for that. As the interval, as always, has a meltdown. The 5 red lights, of which I only hear 1, and the Italian Grand Prix is aware. And it's tentative. It looks like Fonseca's going to have a dominant run going towards T1, and so it shall be. He will almost Verstappen. He is going to Verstappen himself. He had the lead, but Darius McGill will take advantage. He will take the position back, and Fonseca will find himself back down the middle of the order. Preston Brennan, I thought, had a run on De Jong. De Jong, who actually made up 2 places on the start, one off of Fonseca, another one off of some unknown person. Possibly Brennan. Actually, that is exactly who it is. As everything's already kind of single file-ish, and we haven't even finished the first lap. Interestingly enough, that the AF2 race was very wet conditions, as Jackson Altman has run wide at Variante Ascari. Fonseca looks to take advantage, and Altman will just not even attempt to battle. Meanwhile, in the back, I saw James Sands on the map has lost it in that same Ascari corner. Yeah, the AF2 race was heavy wet conditions, and yet here we are with this race, which is overcast but still completely dry. Honestly, if Hungary was any indication to me, it's sometimes easier to commentate dry races. Because there'll actually be overtaking that takes place in about 2 laps from now. There's not going to be a lot of overtaking in a rain race because everyone's just trying to live. Fonseca's pushing his way through the field a little bit there. I almost saw him loop it on that curb, one of the many curbs that are just automatically death should you run them over. but he's flirting with disaster. He seems to be hitting all of the curbs that I said to specifically not hit, and he's not getting spun for them, or off of them. Dirty air affecting his run through Ascari. And he is dumping the battery a little bit too, as we have another victim claimed by Ascari, Ethan Payne, who has damage but has, you know, at least a working automobile. Boggs had the run on Brennan, but ran out of straightaway, so he had to retreat for the time being. Another victim, presumably of curbs, is Jackson Altman. Finds himself around on the exit, and well, at least man should not get disqualified, because the game does like to do that on you if you go backwards too far trying to get your car turned around. Ask me how I know. There's the first DRS zone of the race, and it's not going to produce a whole lot. Ethan Payne has made another folly heading through the second chicane. Probably another one chalked up to the curbs, because that's about the only thing that ever happens here is people hitting curbs or people hitting each other. As Tristan Adams is going to be an absolute sitting duck as we head towards turn 1, with De Jong and Brennan going to have DRS and both going to be very close by. De Jong will be well clear, and I think Brennan will also be clear at the braking zone. So Adams, wrong place, wrong time, also finds a curb, and that allows Kyler Boggs to transfer on through. Ethan Fonseca wanted to be a part of this, but there's just no real estate. Boggs almost puts Tristan Adams on the curb through Curva Grande. Oh my heavens. Fonseca too wide through here. There's not a lot of space to give at the second chicane, and so Tristan Adams wisely retreats further. Looks to fight into the next braking zone. A heavy braking zone, at least. As Ethan Payne continues to stack. 2 spins, and now a speeding penalty. Boggs making defense on Ethan Fonseca, but it's ultimately a moot point. The McLaren driver is back into 4th. And now it is Boggs who finds himself dumping the battery. And Adams still has a run on him despite this fact. And head down the main straight again. There's the DRS. Boggs has DRS of his own. He's going to put Tristan Adams nearly in the pit wall. He's a dive around the outside, and he's going to give Adams the slightest of nudge, but with netcode, that's enough. Preston Brennan has dropped it on the exit of the first chicane. What the heck? I don't know if that's him alone. I don't know. That's a weird place to DNF. The curbs don't do anything back there. So either he over-accelerated and had to save the car for several seconds before eventually losing control, or there was another car in play besides his own that caused that. But regardless of the situation, we have the first safety car of the Grand Prix. If I may be brutally honest, I'm surprised it took this long. Aston Lewis also retires from the session. For seemingly no reason. I certainly don't see his DNF to Aston Martin anywhere on the circuit. To the surprise of not myself, since everyone started on soft tires, everyone is probably going to be pitting off of said soft tires On to what tires next is up for debate. Most people are thinking mediums. Actually, it appears that everyone is thinking mediums, so maybe it wasn't such a question, you know. I'm hardly a master at strategy in this game, so obviously everybody knew exactly what to do. Which, I mean, they're the ones that have to know, not me. So... should Sans pit in here, which he does not do. So everyone else that was near the field, as there's a bit of a conundrum going on with the lapped car in the form of Ethan Payne. This will be interesting. The top 9 are all in the same playing field, more or less. All of them on a fresh set of medium tires that probably can go to the end of the race. Barring more safety cars. Not that, well, I mean, not like that would change if they can go to the end or not, but rather another safety car in like another 15 laps would probably be a cause for a switch to soft tires. As this is precisely what Darius McGill wanted, because he underfueled his car. I got their broadcast cameras. Stretch while we are under the safety car conditions. Well, there's absolutely no reason the safety car should be in this lap. You've done the prerequisite too, and everybody is in the field, or in the pack. There's confirmation, almost as if the game heard me. As the clouds have begun to clear away. Clouds that once soaked the racetrack are now absolutely non-existent. Well, it's still kind of there, but not near as many. More intense swerving. I'd be more concerned about the brakes than the tires, frankly, but as there goes Darius, and he's absolutely caught everybody up, I would say. Jackson Altman, I'm not sure what's happened there. Something tells me that whatever did happen, it wasn't his fault. Just based on where he was and the circumstances, I'm thinking he probably ran into someone or somebody ran into him. David Bradley finds himself around to the first chicane. There to take advantage is James Sands, who's attempting to recover himself. I keep seeing Tristan's new username and thinking that's somebody else. Fonseca just eats that curb, and Ethan Payne is out of the session. He's DNF'd in the Lesmos. Probably an outside curb is to blame, because that's usually how it goes through there. Speaking of outside curb, Fonseca ends up well beyond it, and the game is none the wiser. And to wait another couple of laps for the DRS to be turned back on following the SC. So we'll just have to wait. We'll probably have to wait for any real overtakes to be made in the meantime, just to see if, you know, people can keep the car under them until that point in time. Now, some people may already be out of DRS by the time we get to that point. Obviously, Sands and Bradley will find themselves not in DRS range, but unless Kyler finds just a touch more pace, or Fonseca makes an error, he's not going to even have it, and he's running P4. Fonseca continues to just ignore track limits, but also not get yelled at for it, so I guess as Jackson Altman retires from the session in the second chicane, meanwhile everybody is in Parabolica. I guess that probably speaks to exactly why that just happened. DeJong's not even going to wait for the DRS to be active, he wants it now. But he's going to run out of steam. He's still going to force his way through, despite not being even a little bit alongside of the braking zone, but it looks like the place is going to be his. Parker finds himself off track at the chicane. There's McGill backing out of the battle with DeJong, instead is overtaken by the McLaren of Fonseca. And now we reset the neutral as we head up towards the Ascari. This is one of those I like to call Schrodinger's passing zone, because there's a DRS section ahead of it, but it's not a passing zone. Despite the game and the stewards trying to tell you that it is, it isn't. And I will hear no suggestions to the contrary. You don't normally pass through Ascari, you get through Ascari and you wait and you just pass them on the front straight. Same thing with the second chicane. Unless you're trying to complete a move from the first one, don't bother. As the DRS allows Fonseca to easily slide ahead of the Alpine driver. Adams versus Boggs once again through the first chicane. Slight contact, but I think honestly with where the two cars were on the track, that was almost inevitable. Okay, we're almost forgetting to shift for a second there. Adams will escape the scene of the overtake. Have this DRS zone, but nobody's even gaining on one another at the moment. It is precisely as I said, just wait for the front straightaway, and that is precisely what everybody is doing. DeJong should have a decent shot heading towards turn 1 on this occasion. The DRS is there. The 200 crossing the DRS trigger. And yeah, not even a contest. Expect a lot of leapfrog, generally speaking. That's kind of going to be order of the day here at Monza. It's just leapfrog. The only overtakes that will probably get done are going to be the ones that get done before we even arrive at the braking zone. And they're pretty much all going to be at turn 1. Barring general insanity, which, I mean, let's face it, that's not unlikely, but in, like, normal perfect circumstances, that's going to generally be the law here. It continues to utilize the green location. I actually heard his exit anyway. Maybe there's a reason the game is penalized, not that it stopped it anywhere else. As Johnny Parker is going to be the first to collect a time penalty for the GP. The DRS is enabled. There's the battery, 210 plus at the braking zone, but it's not done yet for once, and Fonseca's going to turn into De Jong. It didn't seem to affect the Alpine driver, though, as he manages to stave off the McLaren for the moment. The exit out of the first chicane, though, means that they're going to have a Curva Grande battle, and either driver's really going to back out into the second chicane. Eventually, De Jong is the one that takes evasive action, but Fonseca loses it a little bit. Now they're going to be too wide again, through at least one of the two Lesmos. Indeed, only one. As De Jong is forced to just accept and wait for the next opportunity, because believe me, we're only halfway through the race. There will be more opportunities. De Jong could have had it if he really wanted it, but he thinks better of the idea. Same applied to McGill behind. These top 5 are under a blanket, but it's just the nature of this track means that no one's really making any gigantic advances here. You can't escape. It's just going to be locked in this battle until one of you ends up with a damaged car. As Fonseca is absolutely dead, there is no keeping that Alpine behind you. Tristan Adams with an absolutely massive lockup into one. And now we can breathe for a moment. If only for just a moment, though, as... Oh, actually, everyone's like pretty equidistant here. I don't think we're gonna see a pass. At this distance, we may not see one to turn 1 either. Or if we do, it's gonna be one of the sketchier ones like we saw on the previous lap. This James Sands, I assume, has found the outside curb of this first Lesmo and safety car. And both De Jong and Fonseca got absolutely bodied by a speeding penalty for their sudden decision making. So that had put Darius Gill in what's effectively the lead of the GP, since both the cars ahead of him are going to have a 5-second penalty. I'm gonna do more stretching, as I'm prone to do on the safety car. I have nothing else to do. I'm the oldest 21-year-old you ever meet, so try not to look down, because that means I'll just be breaking your speakers with my exhalation. Fonseca goes to a set of mediums, whereas everybody else is confident in the softs. I can't talk over your engine. Okay. Finally somebody keeping the revs at normal value. But Fonseca's the only one that's on the mediums, so for the immediate time span, he's gonna be a little bit slower, but, I mean, ignoring the if we just ignore the 5-second penalty for the sake of this conversation. Last 3-4 laps, barring more safety cars, that would allow other people to change tires again. He is gonna have the pace advantage, just based off of the mediums not having as much tire wear. However, with the field shrinking in size, only down to 8 running cars, 5 of which were doing pack racing for a decent length of time, with no real incidents, I find it unlikely that there will be any more incidents as Fonseca has realized this mistake, and I presume he is now pitting in for a set of soft tires instead. David Bradley, however, is staying committed to his medium tires, which does net him a place over Fonseca, etc. Ethan, etc. There we go, that's his new name. We'll net him that position, but all things considered, he hasn't really spent much of this race near the front, so I couldn't exactly tell you if he's even going to matter. He could just have been concealing his true pace this whole time, and I have none the wiser. Or he's a non-threat. I guess we'll have to wait for the restart to find out. This Fonseca hypothetically shouldn't have many issues getting here in time. Although, since Monza is mostly straightaways, it is actually kind of hard to catch the safety car here sometimes. I can clearly tell that Fonseca's helmet was designed for Aston Martin, not McLaren. Or, that's certainly the impression that I get from it, as the safety car will already be in this lap, so we got a much shorter SC period on this one. This time Mikey de Jong is in charge of the restart, but he has the penalty, so ultimately the provisional leader is one Darius McGill, and the Red Bull is he's still attempting to murder his engine. De Jong floors it before the apex of Parabolica. Those are consonants right there, actually. And that's, well, it certainly caught me off guard. I wasn't even able to say Parabolica anymore, I was so thrown off. Now Fonseca has the hypothetical advantage of slightly better tires. Slightly. I don't know if the difference is worth being in P7 versus being P3, but I guess he also did serve that penalty of his, so that does kind of have that double, that double function. As the field is already pretty spread out, the two closest drivers at this point are just the two McLarens that I imagine they won't really give each other much of a battle because they're on the same team. In saying that, Kyra Boggs has caught up to Tristan Adams a good bit, so come DRS time he might be in range to attack. Francis, as I suspected, just allows his teammate through, I think. Puts up minimal resistance. So to the faster driver with the slightly newer tires. I need to eat something after this. Side note. My life, totally unrelated to ARC, but I don't know. There's no DRS, okay? I have nothing to say. As Tristan Adams has turned on the jets, he's managing to get away from Boggs despite the latter doing a bit of battery dumping. And instead, Tristan Adams is actually catching up to Darius McGill ahead, ever so slightly. He's dumped his battery as well. Meanwhile, Adams has left almost half of his in the reserve. So DRS will be enabled on this lap. Can't use it until we're on the back straight, though. But I don't necessarily think that Adams will be complaining about that, as Fonseca has to run. Buick goes to the inside, but even without ERS or DRS involved, I don't really think there's a whole lot that he could do. He probably didn't have the best Parabolica, and all the rest is history, as they would say. Lock up for Fonseca, but a lot of curbs for Darius McGill. And as I just said Fonseca, didn't I? Adams, the lock up. Adams thought about moving to Lesmo 1, but thought better. The DRS is engaged, but he immediately turns it back off, as this is no real passing zone. He definitely would have drawn alongside if he had kept it enabled. But I think for the sake of everybody, it's probably best that he didn't do that. Kyler Boggs has caught the Williams as well, due to the Williams patiently waiting for a better opportunity to overtake the Red Bull. A poor Parabolica run, but a lot of battery, and that good old DRS beep that the game didn't play. And to the inside for the Williams, and that move is as clean as they go, really. A bit outbroken through the chicane, but ultimately the position belongs to Adams. Excuse me. Now you just better make good on his escape plan, because McGill is obviously still in range. If the enemy is in range, so are you. And it's just the way of the land here at Monza. If you were close enough to pass them, chances are they will be close enough to pass you the next time you hear a DRS go off. But that's, depending on what Kyler Boggs has to say, is he will endeavor to get involved in this conflict between these two for the lead. As we are coming towards 7 laps to go in the GP. De Jong has pulled a comfortable margin, but it may be not enough. Boggs is just straight up out of battery. McGill was nowhere near close enough to make a move there. Yeah, De Jong may be pulling away from second place, but he has a 5-second penalty for speeding. So, ultimately, he's like a net P5 right now, maybe P6. Parker is like on the edge. No, he would be P5. Parker is half of a second off of stealing that position following the application of the penalty. Once again, McGill not close enough to Adams to try a move at Ascari. Goodness me. But nap has not worked. Again, my life not relevant to league racing, but... as McGill has not activated the DRS, he is not saving the commentator, because if he had it open, he would have had the chance to pass right there. Oh, that's not great. Don't like hitting those curbs too much. A very stark difference in approaches to Ascari there. Tristan Adams will use that difference to pull away to a safe distance from the Red Bull. This race has really hit a wall, hasn't it? I can cover action. I can't fill the space too well. Oh, Adams almost found a bit of gravel in his system. He about lost it at the second chicane. That has allowed Darius McGill to find himself in range until he almost found himself in... Let's see him. Wow. Until he almost found himself out of the race at the next Lesmo, therefore saving Tristan Adams from further pressure towards Ascari. McGill is absolutely close enough this time. There's the silent DRS, a bit of the battery, and yeah, not a whole lot. Because Adams, I think, moved too far and locks up and absolutely destroys the back of McGill. I don't know what the actual heck just happened there, but that's something right there. Things have definitely happened. There's my wake-up call because I'm unusually drowsy right now. But now I'm certainly on high alert because what just happened? I had to make a cognizant effort to cognitive effort to enable profanity filter there. Adams with wing damage, I think, is just trying to move away from the other cars. And HRT is definitely having a day to forget here. Adams will be able to finish the race, but he's going to go from on for possible victory to 8th. Three laps to go in the Grand Prix, and De Jong now has enough of a lead. He may very well be able to win the Grand Prix from here, as Age is left. It is a battle for third, and... no, that's battle for second. I'm blind. Boggs has turned down on McGill, and now his own misery continues. Fonseca clears the path for a battle between Brandon and Parker, two cars who I honestly forgot were in the race. Two cars who weren't really relevant in the race until the original incident between Adams and McGill took place. First incident, well, both incidents to me seem kind of obvious. I don't know what got Adams' car so wiry there, but whatever the case was, he walked up and found himself going right through Darius McGill. Next lap, well, Kyler Boggs found himself in the Hamilton-Verstappen situation, except only one car ended up with damage and a DNF. Well, not a DNF. There's no DNF, but, like, it only really hurt McGill. It didn't really hurt Boggs in any meaningful way. Not on the track, anyway. Rand has the run on Parker. He wanted to send it, but he could not bring himself to brake late enough. He has, however, forced Parker to brake or take the chicane, possibly not as ideal as he would want. But he cannot capitalize, as he didn't get the chicane he needed either. And both with penalties, so that's probably why Fonseca got out of the way. Because when the dust settles there, he's going to pick up possibly both places. So, I'm not exactly sure who is technically third right now, if it's Parker or if it's Fonseca, or if at the final lap, it's not Parker anymore, he has just cut Ascari. He thought he was at Watkins Glen, and now it's definitely a 3-4 for McLaren. Possibly even a 2-3, it depends on with the steward's rule on the incident that took place between Boggs and McGill. If they rule anything at all. Which, I mean, from my POV, Boggs didn't really give any room. Suddenly Fonseca appears despite... That's not... I'm a fool. That's not Fonseca, Riker. That's Francis Ferrand. Appears... wanted to get the place on track and instead runs Parker off the track. And now I'm not sure who's going to be where. Again, this is all a retroactive thing based on the steward's calls. Meanwhile, I didn't even notice. Tristan Adams is no longer in last. He's overtaken David Bradley, who on his debut has not shown the most amazing pace, but he has at least shown his ability to complete the event, which is something that 5 people didn't do. And as he makes his way towards Parabolica for the last time, I do believe the 5-second penalty is not going to actually be enough to keep Mikey De Jong away from winning the Italian Grand Prix. There's the 5-second time penalty. But I do believe that that's still, yes, victory for the Alpine driver. Currently it is, there's going to be a McLaren on the podium, that much I'm sure of. I just don't know which one it'll be, because Ferrand definitely did a funny on Parker on the last lap. But Parker got penalties. So, it may be Fonseca third, it may be Francis third. I can't be sure. McGill, following what probably felt less like F1 and more like burnout, ends up 6th. Tristan Adams 7th. After what I can only assume to have just been a terrible lockup, and David Bradley will be the final finishing car in today's Grand Prix. Francis, the driver of the day merchant, if ever I saw it. As run down the full finishing order. Mikey De Jong takes victory over. I don't even know. I can't even read through the results because the top, or second, third, and fourth, and fifth are gonna shuffle around. Actually, the entire rest of the top. All I can tell you is Mikey De Jong has won the Grand Prix. Honestly, that's all that I know. Fonseca may end up second. I don't know. I really don't. The first 24 laps of this race were as clean as you could really get at Monza, but I don't know. I'll see you next week. I don't even know what to think.